Right, so post-week self-care. So at this stage you've got home, you're back at home again. So sort of, depending on how long you've been away, well, it really doesn't really matter. But, you know, my experience has been we need to be very, very gentle and really respect this as part of the journey, this last piece of it. This is the bit that really it all sort of comes together. And so the way we go back into that, will determine, I guess, how much of what we've done we bring in. So, for example, if we just come back after being on retreat for a month and we go straight back into our day-to-day life, back to work the next day and back picking the kids up, etc. Then we will lose some of the goal that we've got. External life will come along and distract us from it. So I had an experience a couple of years ago where I went back to New Zealand to work for 8 months, 9 months, and 2 weeks before that I'd been sitting in the jungle and doing ayahuasca ceremonies, and then 2 weeks later I'm sitting. One of my previous background has been in software IT project management, working contracting for large corporates, and so I was sitting in the building with I don't know 800-900 people with two 22-inch screens in front of me. I'm thinking, oh my God, what have I done? So I learned a lot about reintegrating back in again and needing to look after myself, and just how seductive it is, and just how easy to fall back down into the rabbit hole again, of the what's going on externally. So I think first of all my suggestion would be, if you can, plan to give yourself some time off before you go back. Say before you go back to work, for example, if you can have a week just to be at home, and just sort of start to settle into home life again, and start off gently. That would be my recommendation, and do as little as possible. Really, just continue to reflect and integrate and notice, and just carry on with that process. Certainly, one thing also to be wary of is something I call sharing your gold. So, when I talk about insights, so really, to me, that's the gold that we get, and you'll come back and people will be curious as to what you've done and what you've experienced and things like this, but of course they've got no context at all for what you're talking about. They're just coming from a mental perspective, but by this stage you've had the whole visceral, your whole body, emotions, spiritual body, everything's being engaged, so you're coming from a very different context and a different perspective. So and what can happen is we try to explain to people our experiences, and we end up just having to water them down, or we just take some of the kind of energy away from it, goodness away from it, because people don't get what we're talking about, or they just sort of feel like we have to justify what we're saying and things like this. So it's not people, yeah. So and also people will try and steal your gold as well, possibly, so some people they'll look at you and see the work that you're doing and know that really that they need to be doing the same thing, but they haven't really got to that point yet where they're of doing something. So it's easier just to sort of put someone down, and put down their process. So just be wary of that as well. So my suggestion would be to really just think about, before you get back, if people, well, what are you going to say to people when they ask you what you did, and I think I generally have two answers up my sleeve. One for is people that really have no experience at all, and perhaps have done no work on themselves at all. I have an answer for them, and then I have an answer for people that are either curious or have done medicines and things, and so I can just tell them exactly what happened. Not that I don't say the truth to other people, but it's more just a higher level version of what happens, and not going into details. So yeah, just be really wary of people trying to inadvertently steal your gold. It's also possible you're going to get back and be feel deeply agitated. You've changed and people around you haven't changed, and that could also bring up other things as well. So again, just be gentle on yourself, be gentle on others that are around you, and just remember, just you're in charge of this, control of this process. And so, really just be really conscious about, be very present, walk barefoot around your house, just, and certainly don't go home and make any rash decisions, you may have had some really good insights in these ceremonies and things that, I mean, if it feels right for you, then it feels right for you. But I guess, just, if caution, just to pause for a minute and just double check that this is coming from an intuitive place and not just some sort of new idea that you've made up, while you've been away. So, yeah, again, just tread gently. There's no hurry for this. It's like, when it's really, for me, it feels, it's important that it feels right. And so, for me, I need to take my time and just, until it does feel right or not, So, yeah, just be very careful about what you do when you get back. And, maybe make some significant changes a month later if you still feel the same, or whatever, yeah. All right, well, that brings you to the end of your retreat. The next video just talks about some additional support that is available if you require it post retreat. So, all right, so that's all about post week self care.